Good morning friends and welcome to the pre-market view. US markets continue to slide down and Nasdaq was down almost about 2% and the Dow was down almost about 1%. The short-term interest rates in the US have also spiked up, which is definitely a bit of a negative from a short-term liquidity perspective, though the long-term 10-year bond yield continue to remain around 2.61 or thereabouts. In another important development, Yellen has been appointed as the likely candidate for the chairmanship of Fed after Ben Bernanke, and she is having a dovish stance on the overall economic policy. So that also has come in as a bit of a positive surprise for the markets. European markets too were down almost about 0.3 to almost about 1.11%. No major data points in the Eurozone. And when we look at the Asian markets today morning, most of the markets had started off on a weak note, but they have recovered in the last about 30 minutes or so. Particularly if you see Nikkei was down almost about 1% and it's now trading at almost about 0.44% plus. Same is the case with Shanghai, which is up almost about 0.17%. SGX Nifty also was showing that it will open up with a downward bias of almost about 40 points, but by the time we open up, we might really reduce this negative gap to almost about 25 to 30 points. In terms of flows, FIs were net sellers in the cash market to the tune of almost about 253 crore. And the domestic institutions were also sellers to the tune of about 454 crore. And our market started off on a very strong note on the back of the positive news on the short-term interest rate cut, but they could not sustain the strength, and throughout the day we saw some kind of a weakness in the market. So on that note, let me invite Sadhna to take us through important F&O cues and ideas on the F&O side.
Good morning friends, let's have a view on derivatives. Yesterday, after a solid start, Nifty came off their highs and snapped the session with a marginal gain of 0.27%. In this period, we have seen that market players have taken away their profits as around 4.25 lakh shares were reduced in open interest and Nifty futures premium decreased from 37 points to 31 odd levels. And along with that, FIs also were net sellers of approximately 320 odd crores. In this period, we have seen that PCR also is quoting at same at 1.08, but call option has more number of additions in open interest as compared to put option. It is clearly visible in the options activity as we see put option strike of 5,800, 5,700, 5,700 seen a good number of activity in open interest front, and call option strike of 6,200, 6,300 and 6,400 seen a good number of activity in open interest. Yesterday also we have seen that markets surpassed the mark of 6,000 level but unable to sustain at those levels. But overall, as we are trading above our weekly VWAP of 5,900, so overall trend for the market is positive, and 5,900 on closing basis might act as a good support. We may see buying may continue to emerge at lower levels. From intraday perspective, one can go long on SSLT, that is SESA Goa, with a stop loss of 184.60. Thank you.
Here are the important news and events that we are tracking today. First of all, we are going to have the trade deficit data for the month of September, which is likely to be around 10 to 12 billion dollars of deficit. And if this data actually comes around that would be definitely a bit of a positive both for the INR as well as for the markets. Some of the PSU banks like Oriental Bank of Commerce and PNB have cut their rates on the auto and consumer durable loans by almost about 2.5%. This definitely has been the news for a while, and this would be definitely overall positive for some of the companies in the auto and the consumer durable space. And CBI will initiate a preliminary inquiry into the divestment of Hindustan Zinc, which was done in 2002, and as per CBI, this could have been in violation of the norms. DLF has sold its entire 60% stake in its curtain walls firm Star Alubuilt for nearly about 60 crore. In the current year, DLF has been able to sell two non-core assets and has been able to repay debt to the tune of almost about 1.47 billion rupees. And RBI has restricted the FIIs because the cap of the FII has already been reached in case of Eastern shipping to the tune of about 24%. Unitech is likely to sell its Gurgaon IT SEZ for almost about 2,600 to 2,700 crore. Remember friends that this SEZ is owned by Unitech's Corporate Park, which is an entity listed on London Stock Exchange. And in another important development, Bayer Crop Science is likely to take over 26% minority stake in Kaveri Seeds because overall there is a tremendous growth which has been displayed by Kaveri Seeds in the hybrid seed sales. So definitely this is a big positive for Kaveri Seeds. Cabinet Committee on Economic Affairs has cleared the rescheduling of delaying of premiums to be paid to NHAI for road projects. And in another important development, the government plans to invite global bids for an interstate transmission projects worth over 20,000 crore in the next 2 months. This could be a big positive for companies like Sterlite Industries, L&T Infra, Power Grid, Tata Projects and Kalpataru Power. L&T has banked an order for almost about 1605 crore across various business segments. So a bit of positive for L&T, and another company, IVRCL Water Division, has bagged an order for almost about 1400 crore. Coming to the stock specific news, Hindalco, there could be a positive action as Alcoa has reported better than market expected numbers, and also they have maintained their guidance of almost about 7% volume growth for aluminum for the next year. So this could be a big positive for Hindalco. So one can go long there with a stop loss of 117 and a target of about 123 to about 125. And Bharti, some positive news as Moody's Investor Services have assigned Baa3 rating to Bharti Airtel for its 2023 notes. This is the first time that the Moody's has assigned a rating to Bharti which is equivalent to India's sovereign rating. So one can go long on Bharti with a stop loss of 325 and a target of about 342 to about 348. That's it from all of us, friends. Have a good trading session and see you tomorrow at the same time.